in, Jean Twenge came out with this book, Generations. And one of the things she said in it is that boys, even though teenage girls have the worst mental health in general, boys from liberal families had worse mental health than girls from conservative families in terms of anxiety and depression. So why should that be? We know the girls are on social media more, right? Mm-hmm. Boys, that's not their thing, right? They're into video games or whatever. But I think part of the reason is what you said. There are certain families that are passing on anxiety about things like climate change. But I also think it shows that it's in the environment we're giving them. We're not giving kids a healthy life, right? We think that we can give them an unhealthy life and just pour in the mental health resources and remediate. But it doesn't work like that. And then the last reason I don't think that phones totally explain everything or social media is because they're in societies where they use just as much social media. It's not great for the kids' mental health, no doubt, but they have much better rates of anxiety and depression than we do. Countries like Japan and Israel, where kids have more independence, they have more freedom, they're able to take more risks on their own, and they walk home from school. They do all kinds of jobs outside of the house, like run errands for the family, and they get a feeling of, first of all, short-term joy and long-term satisfaction from being able to take risks, see what they can handle, but also a feeling of efficacy in the world.
So that's an interesting statistic that you were saying that. So conservative families have less depressed kids? Is that what you're saying?
Apparently, boys from liberal families have higher anxiety rates than girls from conservative families.
But above, if you just looked at the norm, more girls generally have anxiety.
Right.
But in conservative families, girls are less anxious than boys from liberal families.
That's right. And, I mean, we could speculate as to why. There are lots of proposed reasons for that. But one of the many, things that we might, first of all, we know it's in the environment at that point. It's not an organic, whatever these kids are going through, it's not organic, right? So we know it's something we're pouring into their life. And I think one of the things might be that, aside from the fact that parents in conservative families may be more comfortable asserting their authority with kids, and that's an old finding. We've known for generations now that authoritative parenting meaning not cold parenting, not cruel, not unloving. But rules. Those kids have better mental health. They're happier and they're more successful in all kinds of ways. So it may be something to do with comfort with rules, but also they're less likely to turn their kids' lives over to a mental health expert.
So what is the speculation as to why rules alleviate anxiety? Is it because there's structure? There's more structure to the world, so things seem less open-ended and less chaotic? And
that's right. I think it's something to do with that. Kids need guardrails. They know they're not ready to be in charge. Parents today are so quick to put kids in charge. What do you want? Where would you like to go to school? What would you like to eat for dinner? Putting kids in charge. But we've known since the 1960s. Diana Baumrind did this research years ago, and it's some of the sturdiest research we have because they've replicated it hundreds of times, and they've shown that loving parents who are also rule-bound, they call them authoritative, not authoritarian, which is the cold, unloving rule-bound, but the loving and rule-bound parents tend to raise the happiest kids because kids knows there are guardrails. And here's the thing. The people who are making the rules aren't some expert mom hired. They're the people who love me most. They're my parents. They're the ones in charge. I think that's really comforting to kids.
That's interesting because that's not what people think of when they think of authoritarian or authoritative parents.
Right.
They think of parents that are restricting their children and the children are going to rebel.
That's right. I mean, there's a lot of really good research on this, but it actually doesn't create more rebellious kids. By virtually every metric, they do much better in all kinds of circumstances and all kinds of situations. And what they used to have was permissive parents and authoritarian parents. Those were the other two extremes. Permissive parents let kids do whatever they wanted, and authoritarian parents, said obey at all costs, and they were fairly cold. And their kids didn't end up great in terms of mental health. But here's, but today we don't even have permissive parents. In my view, I think we have something even worse. We have permissive parents who are therapeutic, meaning they're always asking kids what they want, but they're never asserting their authority, but they're doing something else. They're hovering and surveilling their kids, and so it's permissive without the independence.
Yeah. That's a weird one, right? Like the Snap Maps and stuff,
Yeah.
where you're following your kids
Right.
everywhere on Snapchat.
They're surveilling them. These kids have no independence. They have no space from mom or dad, and it's not doing them any good.